Hi everyone, Dr. Cheryl Carthouse here. I want to present to you today a little bit about some essential oils that we possibly could be using in our sanitizing and immune enhancing activities, especially given this COVID virus that is going on. So I did some research a couple years ago and made a poster, presented it at the Healthy Living, Healthy Life conference at Dalhousie University in 2018. So I wanted to just go over the introduction to this research, a few of the little findings, and then in the next subsequent videos, we'll go over the particular essential oils as well as some home practices that you may be able to use that can possibly be effective. So as an introduction, the research is fairly well established that essential oils do carry antimicrobial properties, and they do also have immune enhancing effects. Now, what does this mean and what does the application mean? We want to really understand how effective they are and what they're going to do for us. So when they're appropriately extracted, and that means in their potent form, they are very useful botanical medicine, so our herbal medicine. The research that I looked at was both in vitro and in vivo trials, and they demonstrated the antimicrobial effects of these essential oils. In our current healthcare system, we utilize public health measures to overcome and minimize the influence of these microorganisms. So, especially in something like a hospital setting, we're trying to decrease all of these resistant types of bacteria, which include MRSA and VRE. Other predominant microorganisms that we might find in the home or clinical environments, such as here in my clinic, just from touching, we have different microorganisms all over the skin in different places, and then we can be more susceptible, depending on what our immune system is doing, to these different microorganisms that they might take over. So some of the ones that are fairly common or that people might know are staph and strep as well. Like people get strep throats, but it's actually a commensal bacteria that we do tend to have on our skin anyway, but we just want to try and minimize the effects of this taking over the immune system. So twofold, we want to try and decrease the microorganisms in the environment and have only sort of some good healthy probiotics in the environment, as well as then boost our immune system so we're not so susceptible to these microorganisms taking over. So often, all of these microorganisms are responsible for illness and sometimes inconvenient and then sometimes also life-threatening ways, particularly for those MRSA and VRE that we might find in the hospital. So the purpose of this research was to first explore the literature pertaining to the essential oils that could possibly decrease microorganisms and increase the function of the immune system, and then two, to discuss the home-based and clinical application of essential oils that may actually help to reduce the presence of microorganisms, and then of course with the goal of preventing illness and improving health overall. So I did quite a big search on PubMed, Google Scholar, and looked at a number of different organizations and hospital documents that I had access to. The results showed that essential oils were found to help to decrease the presence of microorganisms, including the VRE and biofilms of MRSA, alone or in conjunction with antimicrobial agents. So it's not that these are necessarily the only thing that you should be using, but that when we are actually using them together with other things, they actually help to deactivate a bacteria in a certain way so that another antimicrobial or sanitizing product can actually come in and do its work in a much more effective way. So let's dig into the research, and I'll just make a couple points here about what it found. I will include the PDF under the video. If there's any trouble accessing it, just make a little comment and let me know. So first, what is said in the research? So olfactory stimulation affects spontaneous brain activities and cognitive function, and then consequently behavior and mood. This is how essential oils are used for so many different types of things, even depression, anxiety, a whole slew of different types of relaxation techniques, possibly in meditation and prayer, different things like that. Essential oils in combination with antibacterial agents can work synergistically and reduce reduce the antimicrobial minimal inhibitory concentration and improve the efficacy of the antimicrobial effect. So what that is looking at is how much bleach or how much stuff do we actually need in order to deactivate some sort of microorganism. And when we add the essential oils in, we actually need less of a concentration. You can almost think of it as like a pharmaceutical drug. Like if you need this dose of a drug to be effective, then if you add in essential oils, you can actually use this much drug to be effective. So we're trying to get at the lowest amount of toxins that we might be able to use in an environment to have the most effective outcomes. When essential oils are used in cleaning instruments and materials in a clinical setting, it can reduce and prevent biofilm development of staph bacteria. And that can lead, staph bacteria can lead to significant skin infections, to sepsis, to a whole number of different things. If you guys have had any of those types of infections, they're not particularly fun. Application of essential oils can also decrease the intensity and essentially the toxicity aspect of bacteria, including the MRSA specifically. And all of these comments are researched, and the references are going to be in that poster there below as well. Essential oils can enhance the penetration of antiseptics, especially when applied to the skin or wounds and in dressings to prevent infection and eradicate biofilms, providing these additive antiseptic effects and restoring antimicrobial activity against the resistant species. Pretty much makes everything better, and it's not just for cleaning, but it would actually, in that case, and in these studies, we're actually looking at the application directly onto wounds. So something like those resistant bacteria or staph, as I just mentioned, can have some influence on wound and wound health. You can actually use them topically as well. So a couple more points here. The essential oils were found to be equally or more effective than a standard oral antiseptic solution against hospital-acquired isolations of different types of bacteria. So you can actually use it as oral rinse possibly too. Essential oils may be an effective alternative or adjunct to inhalation therapies, and there are some that have been shown also clinically to help decrease sinus infections and respiratory tract infections. Sometimes these essential oils might be nebulized, and that's can be found to be very effective. In a hospital setting, a 5-month study found that essential oil nebulization on average decreased prescription antibiotics by 70%, mucolytics, which is something that helps to decrease the mucus that's produced, by 100%, and bronchodilators, which help to open up the respiratory tract to help encourage better breathing, also by 100%, and steroidal use decreased by 67%. And non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs decreased by 33%. So those are usually used for pain with no adverse effect on staff or patient. Whoa, that's amazing to me that we can incorporate plants and use them in a slightly different way in order to really decrease the effects even on the staff and on everyone, and that the side effect profile of them tends to be really quite safe when they are used properly. The use of essential oils have been found to have minimal adverse effects and are tolerated very well by staff and by patients who are using them. So not only the people who are being treated, but then the people who are using the substances as well. And for me here at the clinic, and we have a bunch of staff as well, I find that really valuable information and important for them. We want to keep everyone in good health. And lastly, essential oils, when they're used in food washing and preparation, can also decrease bacterial viability and growth. So it can help to decrease the number of bacteria that are living and then decrease the growth of them too. And different concentrations may be required depending on the application. So in terms of washing food or adding as food additives or something like that. There's just a couple points about how essential oils can be used and have been found to be quite effective against different antimicrobial, as antimicrobials against bacteria. And there will be some more coming on how it improves the immune system in the next upcoming video. Stay tuned.